Rick, how are you this morning?
Doing very well, and you?
I'm doing really well. Excited to talk with you, one of my favorite authors and one of my favorite interviews. We've talked over the years, the Percy Jackson series, and now the Trials of Apollo series. We're on book five, uh, and this is a very exciting release, isn't it?
It is, and it's hard to believe that we're at the end of the Trials of Apollo, but also that this really is the end of the overall Percy Jackson arc. I mean, we're in the same universe with the Greek gods and the Greek monsters and the demigods, but we're coming to an end of kind of an era. 15 years I've been writing about these characters. It's been quite a ride.
It has been, but I've always appreciated the way that you meld ancient, Greek gods and today's society. It almost seems they kind of incorporate very well with today's world, don't they?
They do, and I'm not sure what that says about today's world or about Greek mythology. But yeah, I mean, but I think for one thing, there are universals that don't change very much. The Greek myths are still around and still popular because they tap into some very core things that we deal with as humans: love and jealousy and revenge and family and heroism and what that means. These are things that we're still struggling with. So, in a way, it's not a surprise to me that we can imagine the Greek gods sort of walking down the street.
And how you approach your heroes in this, they are not all powerful beings. They use a lot of their mind, their brain power, to get themselves out of scrapes, don't they?
Yes, I mean that's always been true of the Greek gods, and I think that's one thing that makes them appealing. They're not perfect; very much the opposite. They are subject to their desires and their emotions, and they have lots and lots of flaws that they have to deal with. So, in a way, they are, as we've talked about before, kind of our first superheroes. And that's the same reason I think that superheroes are so popular is because they have great power, but they also have great flaws, and that makes them really interesting. And they're also reflections of ourselves, and what would we do if we were in their position?
Now, with book five coming out, what are you going to be doing? I mean, do you have other books coming?
I'm sure that I will keep writing. Yes, that's one thing. Once you're a writer, you just write. I mean, you just do. But I don't think that I'm going to be looking at any more of the big five-book series, at least not for the foreseeable future. I'm going to turn my hand, I think, now to smaller one-off projects so I can pivot from one idea to another. I'm looking at a book on Irish mythology, for instance. I'd love to tackle that, but I think that's probably a standalone novel. And then there are several other ideas I'm looking at. So many irons in the fire. Which one will come out first? I'm not yet sure.
I know that you attend a lot of different conferences and things like that. What do you tell young authors that want to, create books? Is there advice you give them about writing and novelizations?
Sure. I mean, it's a difficult process for anybody, and it's very daunting when you're young. I mean, I remember that I was 12 when I decided I wanted to be an author, and I had not the least idea how to go about it. So I try to make it pretty simple. I say there are three things you need to do. The first is you need to read a lot. That's where you're going to learn about storytelling, about what kind of book you like, what do you enjoy in dialogue and character and plot. The second thing is that you have to write a lot. It is a sport. If you don't practice, you don't get better. So just put yourself in the chair and write. And the last thing, equally important, don't give up. I have rejection notes going back to the time when I was 12. Many, many rejection notes. And you will get rejected. That's okay. That's also part of the process. But if you keep going and you practice and you read, you will eventually, I believe, find a place for your story.
In a lot of ways, it's like being an actor because you audition, you audition, you audition, you get a lot of no's. It's that one yes that puts you on the map.
That's very true. Sometimes it's a series of small yeses that build up to a larger yes, and the process is unpredictable. We can't be sure, but yes, as with any kind of art, I suppose, or really anything in life. I mean, those things apply. Practice at it, learn your craft, learn how other people do it, and then be persistent and don't give up.
Are there any talks about taking the Apollo series to film?
Well, right now, as a matter of fact, we are working on a reboot of the Percy Jackson series as a television program for Disney Plus. That will be a live action. It will start at the Lightning Thief and go forward. Because the Trials of Apollo is part of that world, whether we get to the Trials of Apollo or not will probably depend on how we do with this first series. Fingers crossed. I think we have a good team in place. I think we're going to get a good adaptation, and hopefully it does the fans proud.
And the Percy Jackson series has an amazing amount of fans that follow you. It is a terrific series of books. If people have not read those, they're just a great series of stories.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the fandom is incredible. They are so passionate about these books, and many of them have grown up with them, have introduced their younger siblings to them, and so now we have generations of demigods that have gone through Percy Jackson's world. It's really amazing to see, and it's very gratifying that so many of these readers feel so strongly about the books and have stayed with them and right up into adulthood.
Rick, it is always a pleasure to talk with you. I'm holding your book up right now, The Trials of Apollo, Book 5, Tower of Nero. It is a tremendously insightful, fun, and illuminating book, and it's a great story. So pick it up wherever books are sold, and get the whole series if you don't have it. Rick, thank you so much.
Oh, thanks. Always a pleasure.
This celebrity interview is sponsored by...
I'm Annette Savarella with Pia Anderson Moss Hoyt, Utah's leading entertainment law firm, serving clients nationwide. We provide solid, attentive representation focusing on minimizing risk, reducing cost, and protecting the reputation and privacy of our clients. Our goal is to provide you with the legal representation you need to make the right decisions and to protect you and your creative works. Call or email me for a free consultation.